afternoon, everyone. Mr. Prime Minister, I want to warmly welcome you again. It has been not since 1995 that a Prime Minister of Jamaica has visited the White House. And so President Joe Biden and I are very honored and very excited about your presence here today to reaffirm the strength of the relationship between the United States and Jamaica and the Caribbean as a whole, but also on this, the 60th anniversary, not only of Jamaica's independence, but of the diplomatic relationship between Jamaica and the United States. As I told the Prime Minister privately, and I will say it again publicly, this is a very important relationship to the United States. We take very seriously our membership in the Western Hemisphere, and we are acutely aware of the interconnection and interdependence between the United States and Jamaica. As a point of personal privilege, I grew up going to Jamaica. My family, half of my family is from St. Anne Parish in Jamaica, and I know I've shared that history with millions of Americans who have their roots through the generations in Jamaica. In addition to, of course, then those people-to-people ties between the United States and Jamaica, as I said, in context of being neighbors in the Western Hemisphere, we have a long-standing strategic relationship and a diplomatic relationship and a deep historic partnership. And it is in furtherance of that I'm proud and pleased to announce today 3 specific initiatives that the Prime Minister and I discussed that are in furtherance of the strength and the importance of that relationship. We talked extensively about the Prime Minister's approach and the need of Jamaica to continue to invest in its prosperity, in its economic health and strength. To that end, the United States, and I'm announcing today, will be investing $20 million to assist in the strengthening and the expansion of Jamaica's commerce in a way that we fully intend will have an impact in strengthening the economy of Jamaica and drive economic growth. We also recognize, just as it has been in the United States for Jamaica, one of the issues that has been presented as an issue that is economic in the way of its impact has been the pandemic. So to that end, we are announcing today also that we will assist Jamaica in COVID recovery by assisting in terms of the recovery efforts in Jamaica that have been essential to, I believe, what is necessary to strengthen not only the issue of public health, but also the economy. And this is on top of more than what we have done throughout the year since the start of the pandemic, $12 million in COVID assistance, and more than 600,000 vaccinations or vaccines that have been donated. Lastly, but most importantly, a great part of our conversation, Mr. Prime Minister, that we appreciate has been about the priority we share for security in the region, as well as the issue of crime prevention. So we discussed, of course, the priority that your government places on both those issues, and we agree that one area of important focus is on youth and on, as you said, the human capital of Jamaica. To that end, we have committed, and we are announcing now, to provide $10 million to target at-risk youth in Jamaica through a number of initiatives that we believe will have exponential impact not only on the issue of crime prevention, but what we intend as well, which is to strengthen, as you have described, the natural human capital that exists in Jamaica among young people. And finally, our conversation spanned not only those issues, but issues that are about a global significance. And to that end, I thank the Prime Minister for the leadership that he has offered in the context of votes that have been taken in the United Nations, and in terms of Jamaica's strong stand in joining the United Nations and the United States in condemning Russia's aggression in Ukraine. We also discussed quite extensively the impact of the climate crisis on island nations, and in particular on Jamaica. We discussed, and from my perspective, I recognize and we recognize that the world's emissions have an outsized effect in the Caribbean, including on Jamaica. And I thank the Prime Minister for his leadership in that regard, and we are eager to partner with the Prime Minister on what we can do to invest and prioritize climate resilience, but also an investment in renewable energies, understanding that this is about energy sources, and it is also about human capital and development and supporting the economy there. So, in conclusion, I will say that the United States and Jamaica continue to be close friends with many, many issues in common, and this partnership is an important one and an enduring one for the United States, and we look forward to strengthening and continuing to strengthen the relationship. Mr. Prime Minister, again, welcome and thank you.
We would like to know what you think about Trump's big announcement and some of the less than flattering comments he has made about you.
Well, you know, one of the things I've learned in this job is when you're leading, when you're getting things done, yeah, you take incoming fire. That's just the nature of it. I roll out of bed in the morning. I've got corporate media outlets that have a spasm, just the fact that I'm getting up in the morning, and it's constantly attacking. And this is just what's happened. I don't think any governor got attacked more, particularly by corporate media, than me over my 4-year term. And yet, I think what you learn is all that's just noise. And really what matters is, are you leading? Are you getting in front of issues? Are you delivering results for people? And are you standing up for folks? And if you do that, then none of that stuff matters. And that's what we've done. We focused on results and leadership. And, at the end of the day, I would just tell people to go check out the scoreboard from last Tuesday night. The fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, it was the greatest Republican victory in the history of the state of Florida. And it wasn't just the best governor victory. Of course, it was that. But we swept in super majorities in the Florida legislature. We have 85 Republicans out of 120 in our state house. We've never had that many before. We have 28 senators out of 40 that are Republicans. Never had that many. And honestly, they could have had 29 if they would have done the Osceola one. We won Osceola County at the top of the ticket, and I think we probably could have done that. So you see that. You see the school boards. We're electing all these great people to school boards. We had 16 Republican members of the U.S. House from Florida. Now we have 20. Going up there. So that's four seats right there. So at the end of the day, I think people respond to the leadership. They respond to the results. And so that's why, even though I know anytime I do anything, you're over the target, you're going to face incoming. That's just the nature of it. But that's not ultimately what matters to people. What matters to people is, are you standing up for them? Are you leading? And are you getting things done? And we are. Yes.
But the Republican Party is the real concern between you and Trump. And I know you're not at fault. How do we make it better?
Well, look, I think some of this stuff gets a little bit overdone in some of the media. At the end of the day, you had an election nationwide. There were some success stories across the country. I think Georgia governor, I think Ohio, I think Texas, but there were a lot of disappointments. That's just the reality. It was a hugely underwhelming, disappointing performance, especially given that Biden's policies are overwhelmingly unpopular. People think the country's going in the wrong direction. When that happens, they almost always want to choose to correct that by going. Yet in a lot of these states, they didn't do that. Well, the one place I think that people can look to as the blueprint is Florida, because what have we done? We came in. I had a very close election. In fact, before I became governor, 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, all the major races, governor, presidential, were 1 point or less for that time. So in my race was less than a point in 2018. And so we came in to a very, very large diverse swing state, and we led, and we were on offense, and we didn't shy away from big issues. We took on those issues, and we won victory after victory for the people of Florida. Of course, when you had COVID come, I had to stand on the wall and say, you know what? We're not going to let this state descend into a Faucian dystopia. We're going to stand up for people. We're going to keep things going. And so we did that, and people appreciate that. But we were bold throughout this whole 4 years. I didn't didn't have my finger in the wind. I wasn't trying to contort myself into being something that I'm not. Everyone knew where I stood. Everyone knew what we were doing. And we did it. But I think what it shows is that, if people see that you're leading and they see that you mean what you say and say what you mean, and that you're willing to, and you're able to deliver results, we get people to vote for us who may not be in our party. And that's really what you need to do. You don't win by 1.5 million votes if you only get your own party. And so what we were able to do, yes, obviously we got a lot of Republicans turning out because they were supportive, and we appreciate that. But, we won independents by between 15 and 20 points. We probably won 60% of Hispanics statewide. That's a record. No Republican has ever done that. I don't think anyone's ever done that. We won women. That hasn't been done by a Republican governor for 20 years. So we did that. We won Miami-Dade County, biggest, most urban county in Florida, 70% Latino. And not only did we win it for the first time in 20 years, we won it by 11%. It was a landslide down in Miami-Dade. Not only that, we won Palm Beach County, which has not been won by a Republican for governor in almost 40 years. And we were able to win Palm Beach, which people didn't think was necessarily possible. You look at Osceola County, we flipped that. I mean, a huge swing in our direction. Again, that's a predominantly a Hispanic county. And so I think that what Florida showed is that, the good policies and the good leadership can reverberate just beyond your little silo of the people that agree with you on everything. We had people coming out to vote for us who may not have voted for Republicans in the past. And I think that ultimately is the way forward. And I think the other governors who were successful had similar programs. I think some of the others around the country, you had situations where these independent voters aren't voting for our candidates, even with Biden in the White House and the failures that we're seeing. That's a problem. And so Florida, I think, really shows the blueprint of what you can do to not only win, but really fundamentally change the overall political terrain in a very strong pro-freedom direction. And that's what we've done here. All right. Well, we'll be back soon. We've got some more stuff that we're going to be working on over the next week. We are going to do a special session of the legislature. We're working on the dates in December. We're going to be tackling, number of different issues there, which will be important. We may even end up, doing one or two in January, February potentially. We're talking with the legislators, seeing what's there. But I think we're going to have a very robust agenda, and I think people will be very pleased with the additional points we're able to put out on the board. Thanks.